Hey guys, welcome back to Tales of a Duramax. I am in Dallas, Texas today. Just got back from a meeting for work. I don't know if I've mentioned before, I do a lot of travel for work. That's mostly what I'm always on the road for work. So a lot of my editing is going to be done probably in hotel rooms. So that's where you're at. You're in my hotel room in Dallas, Texas. And this is where I kind of put my videos together. But just a couple days ago before I left, I got to go drive another truck. I found one of them that I had called about, and got some pictures, and honestly, I kind of thought this was the truck. I thought this was going to be the one I was looking for. It was a two-owner truck. The most previous owner had owned it for almost all of its life, and it was an older gentleman taking care of the truck, and they had, as he'd got older, I guess it got to the point where he couldn't get in and out of the pickup, so they actually parked it because it was just too much to climb in and out of. I'm not really sure how long it had been sitting, but the dealership that had it, they had bought it from him kind of as a favor to a friend. They made it sound like it hadn't just been sitting for the last 2 years, like it occasionally got drove, but it hadn't done a lot. Now, it only had 124,000 miles on it, and it was a 2004 LLY. Again, this is a truck that had been baby. It hadn't had a lot of abuse, been owned by an old man. I'm like, this is what I'm looking for. So when I called the dealership initially about it, they said, oh, well, it's actually over at the shop. It needed a couple things, so we've got it over there getting worked on. We'll call you back when we get it back to the lot. Okay, fair enough. A week went by, I didn't hear from them. Another 4 or 5 days went by, and I was getting ready to leave, so I called them and said, hey, what's the update on this pickup? I'd really like to see it. And I explained to them that I'm going to be leaving town and I'd really like to see it before I leave. So they made an arrangement. They said, well, we're still waiting on parts for it. So they're like, it runs and everything. So if you want to come down and look at it, we'll go pick it up and bring it back to the lot. You can come take a look at the truck. Awesome. Thank you. So I took the drive down to the next town where they had it, and here's what I found. Well, the engine bay is not clean. Looks like we got a little oil, something spraying out here. It almost looks green. Not sure if that's oil. Everything seems to be in place. I've touched and rattled everything. Nothing seems loose. I don't see any aftermarket parts in here at all, best of my knowledge, which is fairly limited, no doubt. There's a little oil leak somewhere, I can see that much. The frame, we're going to take it in the shop here in a minute. I'm going to get underneath it and look better. The frame looks like it's got quite a bit of rust. I'm not sure if that's just surface or if there's more to it than that. Overall, the body's in decent shape. There's obviously some scuffs, some scratches. There's no major dings. Lights look like they're in good shape. Tires are in good shape. Can't really see what the bed looks like. It's definitely had a dog in it, a lot. So there's dog hair everywhere, but the seats are in decent shape overall. Headliner's a little dirty. Still attached. It's actually up here on the driver's side. It's come loose, but we'll take a look at it here in a second. So the headliner right here has been duct taped, which is something I would probably do. I don't think they've had it cleaned yet. There's this little tiny tear, which, oops, sorry, get the camera down. There's this little tiny tear. So we'll work on that. Definitely has not been cleaned. It does have an aftermarket radio in it, which I'm not a fan of, because you never know who actually did that for them. I don't know what's going on here. This almost looks wet. Why would that be wet?
Huh. All right, let's fire this thing up. Now they did say it has one injector that needs to be replaced, has one glow plug that needs to be replaced, and they're going to replace the ABS module, and that some of the solenoids for the dash are going to get replaced. They're just waiting on parts to come in before they do those things. Sorry, the truck's running, but the biggest concern, there's a pretty good leak up there at the transfer case. There's a good leak right there at the transfer case. It's up there at the front of the transmission. Something's definitely been leaking for a long time. Everything else seems pretty tight. The drivetrain, or the drive shaft's nice and tight. Frame's definitely got some rust on it, but that's kind of normal up here. Yeah, that stuff, that's pretty solid leaks. Boy, that jacket's filthy after laying on the floor getting underneath this thing. So yeah, the servos are out on the cluster. They're gonna get that fixed. That's part of what they're doing.
When I went down to look at this truck, I almost convinced myself that this was the truck I was looking for. Low mileage, supposedly been really well taken care of. But after talking with the dealership about it, it needed an injector, it needed a glow plug, they were going to replace the ABS module, there were a number of things in the instrument cluster that weren't working, the environmentals, the heat, air conditioning, none of that was working. And that to me is an immediate red flag. There's some electrical issues going on. I am not smart enough to chase that down. And I don't want to pay shop rates to have a shop go through and try to figure out where the problems are in this truck. But even with that, I still was really debating, because I made them an offer if they didn't, because they said they had a couple $1,000s of work that they were putting into it to get all that stuff fixed. That's what they figured it was going to cost them, and they had their list price of what they were going to sell it for. And you know, playing the trick, he's like, well, you know, if I can't get anybody to take it for this, once we get it back and they're fixed, we're going to jack the price up. I just kind of chuckled. I'm like, okay, I don't know how you think you're going to sell it for that, but they're, oh, well, you know, down in Utah, they're listed for that. And I'm like, yeah, they're listed for that. That doesn't mean they're selling for that. So I made him an offer. I offered him 12 grand for it, and he kind of hummed and hawed about that. And so I decided to go take a break, go have some lunch. Called my dad, talked to him about it for a minute, and he kind of hummed and hawed after I kind of told him about it. And I ultimately decided it's not the truck. It's not it. So funny thing is like 2 days after I drive the truck, I've already left for this trip. They call me, hey, we just want to see if you're still interested, you know, the offer you made for us. It's like, no, I don't think so. Sorry, guys. Anyways, thanks for coming along. We'll see what else we can go find.